Ladies and gentlemen, leaders, and our members, and all the new friends. First of all, on behalf of the company, I would like to welcome all of you to this special motivation talk. Today, the speaker is again the CEO of Ventros, Mr. KG Lim, and today's topic is entitled "If Only I Had Been Born Under a Lucky Star." Now, for those people who are here for the first time, let me just give you a brief introduction of who is Mr. KG Lim. Mr. KG Lim is actually born in Batu Pahat, Johor. He had more than 40 years of experience in MLM industry, having served in various levels of management, from sales manager to GM to CEO, to even managing director of various MLM companies in Malaysia and Indonesia as well. Of course, presently, as I mentioned just now, he is the CEO of Ventros. And of course, his personal interest is in human character development, in which he design and conduct research training programs in the area of human character development and value systems. And he had devoted more than 30 years of his professional life to being a trainer, a speaker, a motivator, and consultant to MLM industry. That is why I always tell people, for Inventros, we are really fortunate to have Mr. Lim with us. Because to attend his course, motivation course outside, it will cost you a bomb. But of course, in Ventros, it is free. And even the great motivators such as Gana Singh or even the president of Indonesia, Jokowi, is actually Mr. Lim's student as well. That is why today, for the next 1.5 hours, make sure you stay here and listen to what he had to say to you. So by not wasting any more time, ladies and gentlemen, I will pass the whole thing to Mr. Lim. Thank you, Mr. Lim.
Thank you once again, Andrew, for that very long introduction. And I'd like to say a very good afternoon to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. And it is wonderful that even in the midst of a pandemic, we can still come together and we can start to share things with one another and try to build each other up. And this is a series of my short seminars for the benefit of those of us who are in Ventros. I have committed myself to this form of short seminars on a monthly basis so as to enable all of us to stay inspired, to stay motivated during this time of uncertainties around us. Well, today, the topic that I have chosen to share with you is, if only I had been born under a lucky star. I chose this title more to stimulate all of you to think about either yourself or people you know around you who are in the habit of making excuses. Sometimes we hear people say, wow, that fellow, he's very lucky. That's why, you see, he can do so well. And sometimes we hear people say, of course, he's doing so well because he's well connected with the politicians. That's why he can do so well. Well, in Malaysia, maybe that can be true. But then again, if we have to resort to cooking up excuses why we are not doing well like other people do, why we are not achieving results like other people do, and we just keep on cooking up excuses to cover up our underachievement, then it will bring trouble upon ourselves. Maybe not now, but in the future. So this short seminar today is about making excuses and how to stop making excuses. And I know that as long as we are humans, this is a very real bad habit that most of us have. Most of us has. And I just hope that this short seminar today will encourage us to be more proactive with our life. Proactive means to be willing to take responsibility over ourselves, no matter what situation we are in. And to be more proactive about not living our lives under excuses. So it doesn't matter if some people are born under a lucky star or we were not born under a lucky star. It's all right. It's all right. We still have a great chance to make it in life if only we will stop making excuses. Now, I ask of you to think about this. Let us think, keep our minds open. What are excuses? Yeah, what are excuses? Now, excuses, they are explanations that we invent in order for us to justify, to cover up our mistakes and our weaknesses. The explanation we invent in order to justify, to cover up our weaknesses or mistakes. Now, I take for example, recently you see that the COVID-19 figures are spiking up again to a very worrying level. And then it's affecting mostly school children, teachers, schools. So I ask you, the statements that you hear from the Ministry of Education, are those statements excuses to cover up the weaknesses and mistakes, or are they real reasons? You judge for yourself. So excuses are explanations we invent in order to justify, to cover up our weaknesses and mistakes. That is the definition, one definition of excuses. Excuses are rationalizations we make to ourselves about people, about events and circumstances. Rationalization means we try to justify by using logic about people, about events, about circumstances. Like just now I said, we sometimes hear people say, well, that fellow, you know why he can become so rich in so short a time? I tell you, because he was involved in the get rich quick schemes. If he were doing it the righteous way, I don't think he will be what he is today. Well, these are rationalizations we make about people. Even sometimes we rationalize about events, about circumstances. Sometimes we say, well, if not because of the pandemic, I would have been a diamond director already. Well, these are rationalizations we make to ourselves. So that is the definition of excuses. And excuses are invented reasons. So this is another perspective about excuses. They are reasons that we invent to explain, that we create, so that we can defend our behavior. Okay? So maybe perhaps, let's say, you go and beat up somebody because you got drunk. So you have to rationalize, well, I got drunk, that's why I beat him up. We try to invent reasons to defend our behavior. Now, excuses are invented reasons we create to postpone taking action. You want me to do now? Now it's not the right time, because you see, with the pandemic like that, how can I go out and do sales? And so we use these invented reasons to postpone taking action. And the more we invent reasons to cover up, the more we sink into a life of low productivity. And we create those invented reasons to avoid taking responsibility. This happened because nobody told me about the instructions. So that's how it happened. I can't be responsible. And these are the invented reasons we create to avoid taking responsibilities. So excuse and reason. Is there a difference between the two words? What is an excuse? What is a reason? Now, I like to put it in table form like this. On one column is about excuses. Another column is about reason. Because these two words, excuse and reason, sometimes we confuse and think that they are the same, which they are not. An excuse is a reason or explanation to justify a fault or an offense or a weakness. A reason to explain away what happened, which is due to some fault, some mistakes. So that is called an excuse, to explain away, justify. A reason is an explanation, a cause or basis for something. For example, now in the midst of the confusion, whether to send your children to school or not, knowing that the COVID figures are rising, and until yesterday, it was reported that 21,000 school children have been infected with COVID-19. Now, to me, that is a very high figure. Whatever the Ministry of Health has come up with SOPs and all that, and MCOs, that kind of figure cannot justify. So now, if I say, I am not going to send my children to school, so this is not an excuse, this is a reason, because reason being, you are not sure that all those figures and all the situations that are being reported right now, is it true or fake, or you are not so sure if the SOPs are consistent with the SOPs that is going to curb the COVID-19 in schools. So that's the difference between excuse and reason. The reason is an explanation, like excuse, also an explanation, but it is an explanation that has a basis for something. Now, secondly, an excuse has negative connotations. In other words, it implies something negative. If you say, that fellow, he keeps making excuses only. So you already know that statement is a negative statement about somebody, because the word excuse has been tied up with a very negative connotations. So if you are branded as one who always come up with excuses, then it's not going to do well for your image, for your credibility. That's why if we are going to do well in any area of life, we got to stop this bad habit of making excuses. A reason is a neutral term. It is neither positive, neither negative. It can be positive, it can be negative. It is neutral. An excuse usually is used in negative scenarios. In other words, in negative situations, we usually use excuses just so that we can escape condemnation by people, we can escape all the bad comments from people in a negative situation. Now, a reason is used in both positive and negative scenarios. We want to explain the truth, the basis, the perspective from our side. We want to explain it without wanting to justify. Now, last one, excuse, it implies that the blame is directed at somebody else. The blame is not you, but at somebody else. Whereas a reason implies that the fault is sincerely recognized and accepted. So, for example, let's say you are a school teacher. Sorry, today my examples have a lot to do with school children and teachers, because I'm so stressed out by what the Ministry of Education is doing to school children and parents. You see, for example, you are a school teacher and you go and punish one boy. And after punishing the boy, the parents came to confront you. Why did you punish my son? And then as you check, oh, you actually punished the wrong person. So you told the parent, yeah, I'm sorry, I punished the wrong boy, because they were standing together and they looked quite same size, and I mistook that naughty guy for your son, and then I punish your son. I'm sorry. So that is, you are giving the reason, and to show that you recognize the fault and you accept that you have done something wrong. You're not trying to run away from it. So that is the difference between excuse and reason. Now, I want to share with you all two new words today. And these two new words you cannot find in the dictionaries. No dictionary in the world will have these two new terms. It is only in Ventros that you find these two new terms. And I hope after today, you will start using these two new terms, and that whenever you talk about these two new terms, you will actually inspire yourself about what to do, what not to do. And as you gather with the Ventros people and you use such terms, you know, this will build camaraderie among ourselves, because other people outside don't know these terms. What are these two terms? The first term is excusology. Excusology. You know, when a person studies psychology, you know that it has something to do with human brain, human mind, how the human mind works. That's called psychology. So excusology, I'm sure you now know what it should be. But never mind. The second term about we want to introduce into Ventros is excusologist. Excusologist. Now, when in psychology, the one who is expert in that field of psychology, we call him a psychologist. So the person who is expert in excusology, we call him an excusologist. So pause for a moment now. Who are you? Are you an excusologist or are you not? Let me just explain a little bit. And excusology is the art and science of making excuses. I repeat, it is the art and science of making excuses. Art, because you have to practice it. Science, because you have to study, either consciously or unconsciously, the principles, the psychology behind making excuses. And many of us, obviously, we have the art of making excuses for a very long time. And about science, well, we have learned it since I don't know when we were small, when we were born, we already have the science built in of making excuses. You know, this is the story of Adam and Eve. This story starts like that. The Creator put Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, the Garden of Eden. There, everything was provided for them. But the Creator told Adam and Eve, in my garden here, there are 2 trees that you mustn't touch it. Don't even eat anything from these 2 trees. Well, they obeyed and they went on their life very comfortably in the Garden of Eden. Then one day, the serpent came. The serpent is very cunning. The serpent told Eve, Eve, come here, come here. You see that tree is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. See the fruit. Why don't you eat it? Eve, no. I am told I'm not to touch anything from the tree. And the serpent told Eve, Eve, why are you so naive? Do you know that if you were to eat of the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you will have your eyes and everything will turn so bright and you will be able to be as wise as the Creator himself. Wow. Eve saw that the fruit of that tree looked so good, so nice. And so Eve took the fruit from that tree that she was forbidden to touch or eat. Eve ate it. After eating it, Eve gave some to her husband, Adam. Not our Adam T, the first Adam. Eve gave some of the fruit to Adam. Adam ate it. And then the rest is history. After eating of the fruit, the whole Adam-Eve generations downwards all went into trouble. I won't talk about that after that. I just want to say that, you know, when the Creator asked Eve, Eve, I told you not to eat from the fruit of the tree. Why did you do it? Eve instead said, oh, I didn't want to, but the serpent, he was so cunning. He made me do it. So what do? You see, this was the first excuse that came about in the human race. The fellow made me do it, not me, he. The Creator asked Adam, Adam, why did you eat what was forbidden for you? What was Adam's excuse? The woman that you gave me, she gave it to me to eat. Again, passing the buck to someone else. That was the excuse. So making excuses to cover up is nothing new. Adam and Eve downwards, we are all people who not only have the art of making excuses, we have the science of making excuses. So we become excusologists. Who is an excusologist? He's a person who is an expert in cooking up excuses. An expert, cuan dia, seorang pakar in cooking up excuses. You know of somebody like that? Do you know of somebody like that? Do you come across people like that? Experts in making excuses. Are you like that? You see, if we are excusologists, there are consequences. There is a price to pay somewhere in our lives. Now, the next point I want to share with you is, why do excusologists keep making excuses? Why? Okay, from the psychological standpoint, the excusologists keep making excuses because of fears. Because of fears. Fear of what? Fear of failure. So like you, oftentimes, you try to interest somebody that you know to the Ventros Healing Ministry. Before you could say anything more, he already put his hand and tried to stop you. And he said, I think no need. I tried many before. They are all the same. I think you better don't waste your time. My time is okay, but I don't want you to waste your time. This is an excuse out of fear of failure. Or fear of responsibility makes people come up with excuses. Huh? You mean I got to take responsibility over my downlines? Wow. I think I don't have time to do that. I don't have time to take care of my downlines, to be responsible over them. Again, that is an excuse out of the fear of taking responsibility. Or it's a fear of change. You know, I have been salaried staff for most of about 30 years. I'm already so habitual in this kind of life, expecting to be paid end of month and expecting that I can manage my income and my expenses. And if you ask me to go into this Ventros business, well, there's too much at stake. And if I were to come and join you and my boss finds out, I might be asked to leave my job. Right now, the situation is so uncertain, I can't afford to lose my job. So there is a fear that if he takes up the Ventros Healing Ministry, he will have to make changes, and he is not willing to do that. So he gives us excuses. Or the fear of making mistakes will help make the person come up with clever excuses because he doesn't want to make mistakes. Or there is a fear of uncertainty. What if after I've sold to everybody I know, no one else wants to buy? How am I going to put food on the table? There's a fear of uncertainty that makes people come up with excuses and excuses and excuses. Sometimes it's the fear of embarrassment. Like fear of being rejected is a fear to be embarrassed. Fear of being criticized is a fear of being embarrassed. So we give excuses to stay away from such situations. Or a perceived lack of confidence or resources. You want me to become a diamond director? Come on, I'm not like you. I'm not like you. You can, but how? I'm already so old already. And he forgot that our Rebecca is 65, our Mr. Saw is 70, and many others who became prominent, successful in Ventros Healing Ministry are also around that age. And they give excuses and excuses. And sometimes it's a perceived lack of resources. Ayo, 3,008. Yeah, I know I got health problems, but where am I going to come out with the 3,008? So expensive. But they forget that if their situation gets worse and they get into hospital, the hospital fee definitely will cost not 3,008, maybe 38,000. You see, excusologists will keep making excuses. because they are so expert in making excuses, and all because there is so much fear inside them. Now, how do you stop being an excusologist? How to stop being an excusologist? Well, if they invent excuses because of fear, then to stop being an excusologist certainly must eliminate all traces of fear. You must eliminate, do away with those causes of fear. Eliminate all the traces of fear. Now, what does fear do to us? What does fear do to you? For example, what does fear of rejection do to you? What does fear of criticism do to you? What does the fear of growing old without proper safeguards, money, and so on do to you? What does the fear of abandonment by your children do to you? What does fear do to us? Well, fear traps us, keeps us comfortably in our comfort zone. Well, comfort zone is a psychological term to explain why we are very comfortable in our life when we only need to do those things that we get used to. Those things that we are not used to, we are not used to doing, we feel uncomfortable doing them. We only want to be in situations where we are comfortable doing those things that we are used to doing. Now, when we are in that state, a psychological state, we say we are in our comfort zone. So, what does fear do to us? Fear keeps us in our comfort zone. We don't want to try doing something new for fear of failure, for fear of being rejected, for fear of the repercussions. So that fear keeps us from wanting to try something new. So that fear keeps us comfortable in our little comfort zone. Now, this is what fear will do to us. And if we are trapped in our comfort zone, you find that the consequence is we will not grow. As a human being, we stop growing when we are trapped inside a comfort zone of our own making. Now, what are the causes of fear? What are the causes of fear? Most fears are caused by a lack of understanding. A lack of understanding. For example, the IM laser at 3008, most of your prospects at the first time hearing of it, 3008 for a little watch. You know, they forgot that they are willing to part with 4,000-5,000 to buy a top of the range handphone. No? But 3008, you want me every day just to eat Maggi mee? You know, so why do they have this kind of outburst when we mention IM laser is 3008? Because of a lack of understanding. So they fear to part away the 3008 just for a watch. Why? Lack of understanding. And when we start explaining to them the science behind this IM laser device, what it can do, how it's going to prolong life without having sickness, how it's going to heal your body without having to depend on medications, how it's going to save you much more in terms of hospital bills, then with that kind of understanding, he will be the one to say, okay, I think I will get one, and he will gladly take out his credit card or cash and pay you and quickly go home and try it out. When he has that understanding. So fear is due to lack of understanding. That's one. Two, lack of resources. Yeah, sometimes one of our resource is money, and because we have so limited money in our disposal, we fear that when we spend on this, we can't spend on that. So we try to limit the way we handle our money, for example, and when it comes to, wow, CV8, huh? 3,008. Unyabo, so expensive. Then they start having fear. If I spend on this, wow, my wife is going to scold me, and she's going to slam the door on me because this money is needed for something else. And because there might be a lack of resources, so we fear that our money is not wisely spent. That is why we fear. Another cause of fear is lack of information. Lack of information. Once they have that information and they are able to process the information and apply it to themselves, they will begin to see that, for example, 3,008, this is an investment, not an expense. An investment into my health, so that at this time of pandemic, if I can be healthy, if my body immunity is high, I have a better chance to go through this pandemic. And if I can go through this pandemic, I'm not just healthy, I'm also going to be able to perform better once the pandemic is over. So you see, fear actually is a very destructive force in the life of people who really want to make something out of their lives, who want to see a progress in their lives. Now, the next point will be lack of experience. Lack of experience causes a person to fear. Now, those of you who have joined Ventros for 1 year, 2 years, even 3 years, even 4 years, now the process of going through this period with Ventros, certainly you will find that your experience has built you to become what you are today in the Ventros Healing Ministry. You know that today, sharing the products with people comes naturally. You are not tongue-tied anymore. You are more able to share in a relaxed manner, in a very impressive manner, because of what? The experiences that you have gathered along the way since you joined the Ventros Healing Ministry. So these are the factors that causes fear in people. Now, it's said that some people, they live a life entrapped by fear. Their whole life is being trapped. They are enslaved by fear. And when fear becomes a dominant factor in your life, what happens is that you will worry. Fear and worry, they are like brothers always together. When you start fearing, you start worrying. They are like brothers. They always go together. So when a person's life is enslaved and trapped by fear, you will find that he prones to worry. He tends to be worry. So he becomes a worrier, not warrior, but worrier. And he worries and spends his energy, his time worrying. When we are so consumed by fear, by worry, then we become very anxious in our life. What does being anxious mean? Being anxious means we become very edgy. Little bit, we are already provoked. Little bit, and we jump. And this anxiety is very, very detrimental to your health and your happiness. There is such a term called anxiety panic. Anxiety panic. Anxiety panic can be traced back to a lot of fears. These fears can be real, these fears can be imagined, can be perceived. But for as long as we think that this fear is in us, then we start worrying, we start to be anxious. And when this anxiety gets worse, you find that you panic at the slightest anxiety. Whenever the fear crops up, anxiety, panic starts to take place, and you kalang kabut already. And you find it is so hard to take control of your emotions, your thoughts, your whole self at the time when anxiety, panic takes place. And if you go along this cycle, the next thing that happens to a person who is enslaved by fear and exhibiting this cycle is that there will be no action. Inaction means no action. You will not dare to take any action. You see, a lot of choices, a lot of decisions needs to be made in our everyday life. For our own good, for the good of our family, for the good of our business, for the good of everybody. But for as long as fear enslaves us and we go down this way, we will find it extremely difficult to make a decision, to make a choice, to take action that we know it is good for us. So when we are caught in a situation like this, we have an opportunity, we need to act, but we dare not take the decision, we dare not put our best foot forward, there is no action. So what happens? No action definitely means no results. You can't have result without taking action. So when you have no results to show and other people are showing results, what happens? Well, the world we live in is not a very kind world. For those who have results to show, they get the accolades, they get the thumbs up, people praise them, they say, wow, you are a success. What about those who have no result to show? Year in, year out, no result to show. Everything they do, no result. So what does the world take to these people? The world is not going to be kind of, ayo, kasihan, ayo, never mind, let us work harder, let us try to do something else, and so on. The world is not going to treat you like that. When you have no result to show because you dare not take decision, make choices, dare not take your actions, and you have no result to show, the world just go ahead and brand you. You are a failure, isn't it? And when this has been drummed into you for time and again, you are a failure, you are a failure, you are a failure. What happens? You become frozen. Frozen by what? Frozen by the fear of being branded a failure, frozen by fear because nobody sees you as a person with anything good. And what happens? Then whole life, they can't get out. They cannot get out of this cycle. Today, as I present this, I know some of you may be caught in this cycle, finding it very hard to get out, finding it very hard to release yourself from that very evil cycle of fear that has entrapped you for so many years. The question is, do you want to spend the rest of your life continue to be trapped and enslaved in this way, would you be happy that for the rest of your life, that this is the story of your life? Brothers and sisters, I know it is really, really not the way to live our life. So, how do people who are trapped in this kind of a life, how do they overcome it? How do they overcome it? Well, the easiest thing to overcome that kind of vicious cycle is to invent excuses. To invent excuses. That's the easiest way. And when they invent excuses, I tell you, for a time, at least temporarily, there is a sense of security. But that security they feel is a false sense of security. It's not real because the problem is still there. But the excuses gives them a false sense of security. But I want to tell you, when you invent excuses to cover up that kind of lousy way of life, you know, it's like you are taking Panadol to mask your pain. Mask means to hide, when actually the problem is still there. This way of living life is a terribly lousy way. You will have a false sense of security, and you are just like taking Panadol to mask your pain when the problem still lies there. You know, in Mandarin, these are the translations. So I go through again. How do they overcome the vicious cycle they are trapped in? They invent excuses. How they invent excuses? They will come up with everything to put the blame on others, to come and explain away their lack of education, their family background is not conducive, and so on and so forth. Every time they invent those excuses, it gives them a false sense of security. And life continues in the same tragic cycle. You know, I don't encourage anyone to be living a life like this. So how do you overcome fear? How do you overcome fear? How? Well, the picture you see in front of you should give you a clue. How do you overcome it? How? Well, you face it. You face it. You know, a lot of our fears, psychologically, they do not hold water. A lot of our fears are imaginary. In fact, psychologically speaking, of all the fears that has been haunting you, only 8% are real. How many percent? 8%. Only 8% are real. 92% of our fears, I'm sorry to say, are imaginary. You can Google about this from the psychological point of view about fears. 92% of our fears are just imaginary. That means they came out of our imagination. We imagine people don't like us. We imagine people are going to say no. We imagine people will turn us down. We imagine when actually they are not real. Now, I used to hear a story, something like this. You know, you are afraid of hantu or not? Are you afraid of hantu? Most people will keep quiet or shy to say, but in their heart they say, yeah, kia kui. Scared of ghosts. Why are you scared of ghosts? Why do you fear a ghost? Why? Well, the answer is like this. You are fearful of ghosts. Look, kiakuya. Why? Because you have never seen a ghost. You've never seen a ghost. You want to see a ghost? Huh? Okay, you go to the mirror and look at the image. That probably is a good picture of a ghost for you to see. Now, to overcome fear, the way is to face that fear. Are you afraid of rejection from people? Face it. Every time a rejection comes, you tell yourself, that is one rejection less. Because it can't be you are so unlucky that everyone you speak to about the Ventros products, everyone will reject you. In life, there is such a law called the law of averages. Meaning to say, you can't be experiencing rejection all the time from all the people. Yes, there may be more rejection than there is acceptance, but it can't be 100% all the time rejection. So every rejection that comes your way, if you like to be uncommon, you should say, thank you, one rejection less. I'm nearer to my acceptance. I'm nearer to the guy who's going to say yes to me. And you face it, and you overcome rejection in time to come. And the more you are able to handle rejection, overcome rejection, the higher will be your success rate in trying to sell anything to anybody. So face the fear, and there will be no more fear. Now, what is the opposite of fear? Well, some people will say courage. Some people will say bravery is the opposite of fear. In Bahasa Malaysia, we will say keberanian is the opposite of ketakutan. Now, all this, whether it's courage, bravery, or keberanian, all this tells us that fear means an absence. That means courage, bravery, keberanian means there must be an absence of fear, no fear. That is called courage. Absence of fear means bravery. Absence of ketakutan means keberanian. Right or wrong? Is that right or wrong? Most of you now will be convinced, yeah, that's right. If I have no fear means I have courage. If I have no fear means I'm brave. Right or wrong? Now, today, I'm sorry to tell you that courage or bravery or keberanian is not the absence of fear. It is not the absence of fear. Listen carefully. Courage or bravery or keberanian is not the absence of fear. Nelson Mandela, he was that famous prisoner of South Africa during the apartheid period. And when he became the president of South Africa, he wrote an autobiography about himself. In that autobiography, he says, I learned from so many years of being incarcerated, whether it was in prison or condemned by the apartheid government, I learned that courage is not the absence of fear. Then what is courage? But the triumph over fear. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid. The brave man is he who conquers that fear, triumph over the fear, overcome the fear. Therefore, just now, my example was, if you fear being rejected by your prospects, you still got to face it. You still got to overcome it, and then you are brave enough to overcome. Once you have overcome, then you find that your success, your breakthrough is the result. What are the consequences if you keep being an excusologist? What are the consequences? What will result if you don't change? If you continue to give excuses for your failures, for your mistakes, for all that is not right, what will happen if you keep going that way? Well, you will be prevented from reaching your full potential. You will be prevented from reaching your full potential. It doesn't matter how old you are now. It doesn't matter how shallow, how high your education level is. But the fact is, you and I, we have been endowed, given the kind of potentials that geniuses have, the kind of potentials that inventors have, the kind of potentials that superstars have. Those potentials were given to us at the time when we were born. But if in our life we are so clever, inventing excuses, you will be the one who is stopping yourself from reaching your full potential. Every time we don't want to make excuse, but we face the challenge in front of us, I tell you, it doesn't matter what the result is at the end of it, but for sure, some part of potential comes out. Because why? You took the risk, you dare to face it, and you dare to try it, you dare to put your best foot forward. This is how potentials will come out, irrespective of the results. You know, a bow and arrow, the only way that the arrow is going to shoot forward is when you pull the string. The tighter you pull the string, the further the arrow will go. What does this mean? The arrow going how far forward is an indication of how much potential come out in your life. And how to make more potential come out, you have to pull. Meaning to say, you have got to dare to take more risks. You have got to dare to face the unpleasant circumstances. You have got to dare to put your best foot forward. You have got to dare to try and try again. That like I said just now, irrespective of what the outcome, the very act of taking chances, the very act of pulling the string tighter will see your arrow going further. Your potentials will come out. But if you settle for a life of covering up your weaknesses, clever excuses, you always invent excuses to cover your mistakes, your weaknesses, your whole life is like that, then I'm sad to tell you, you will die in your grave with lots of potential buried with you, not being developed at all. And this is such a waste of having you coming into this world, having you being a part of that family, having you in that state that you are in. You know, everyone, you and I, no matter how our background was like, no matter how deep, how shallow our education level is, no matter what our IQ is like, remember, we owe it to ourselves to do everything possible to reach our full potential. For only then can we have a meaningful and fulfilled life. I am speaking in a very hard way. Not to run you down, but to wake you up. To wake you up. This is a wake-up call for you. That put it as today being the end of making excuses. that you are not going to use excuses to cover up your life anymore. Now, if you are an excusologist for life, this is what will happen. You won't be able to recognize opportunities and strengths. Every time there's an opportunity, no matter how good the opportunity is, you will look at it as a problem and you start inventing excuses. You start taking Panadol to mask that weakness. Every time you have a strength that you have that can help you to go further in life, but you say that, what if I fail again? What if it doesn't work out? And so opportunities and strength keep passing you by, keep skipping you. You keep passing by all this. And what do you end up with? Zero. Lack of responsibility and growth. When you can't take responsibility to develop your own God-given potentials, when you can't see an opportunity for what it can bring for you, you can't see the strengths that are in you, you are being irresponsible. And your growth in this life will be always stunted. Stunted means grow a little bit. That's all. When you could have grown much more. You could have grown 1,000 times more, but you are satisfied growing just a little bit. That is being irresponsible. How about living a life of continuous regrets? If only, that time when Rebecca came to sponsor me, if only I had listened to her, today I may be living next door to her in that beautiful condominium. If only I had listened to Mr. Saw, if only I had listened to Johnny Kwa, things would be different today. And we keep having regrets, and regrets. Do you think for a moment that you were born into this world to live a life of regrets? Ask yourself, why do you have so much regrets to live with? Why? Now, the next point is, if you allow excuses to keep dominating your life, then you sink into a life of complaining, fault-finding, cynicism, and pessimism. This will be the pattern of your life. If you allow yourself to be making clever excuses, you begin to graduate with a PhD in excusology. What is PhD? Permanent head damage. You want to be a PhD in excusology? The characteristic of a PhD in excusology is a life of complaining, fault-finding, cynicism cannot be one. That's what they say, but it cannot be one. Pessimism, same like cynicism. Cannot, negative. This one. When you become an excusologist for life, this is the statement for you. You will grow old, but you never grow up. And I'm so sorry if this is the kind of life that you have been leading until now. You are growing old. How do you know you grow old? Your age, the number keep increasing year by year. But sad to say, never growing up. Growing up means what? You are mature enough to dare to make decisions, dare to take risks, dare to make choices, dare to stand up and fight for what you know is right for you, for your family. Growing old, but never growing up. It is a sad statement, but that is the life story of many people. Mental blocks. If you keep having excuses to build up your life, then mentally you will be blocked from seeing many things, the brighter side of things, blocked from knowing the better things that can change your life. You have mental blocks. And lastly, and excusologists will end up wallowing in mediocrity. Wallow here is not the term that people is wallow. It's not that wallow. Wallowing here, wallow means, you know, I give you the best picture. I give you the picture of a pig. A pig, huh? A pig in the pigsty. A lot of shit there, pig shit. When you bathe the pig clean already, will it be able to say, now I'm clean, I don't want to go into the sty or the shit? No, the pig will still go back to the sty and then go and wallow in the shit and get himself full of shit all over him. That is called wallow. Wallow in mediocrity means what? Mediocrity means biasa, 很平凡, mediocrity. So they have a lot of potential, they have a lot of strength. Actually, they have a lot of chances to make something out of life, but they choose to make excuses one after another. Over the years, they become mediocre. Mediocre means average person. Mediocre, average, not too bad, not too good, yeah, so, that kind of mentality. So I like to proceed now and say that the end result of all this is an unfulfilled life, paralyzed by excuses which hamper your happiness. I will repeat it just in case you miss it. The end result of all this, a life of excuses, is an unfulfilled life, paralyzed by excuses which hampers your happiness. How do you like that to happen to your life? How do you like that to be your life? I'm sure some of you may start to get angry with me when I say in such terms. And I want to just say this. If you feel anger for what I'm saying, it only means you know that I'm right. Now, when you settle for a life of mediocrity, when you allow your life to be just biasa, average, I want to share with you a eulogy of a tragic death. Eulogy means what you say during the funeral of a person who died. A eulogy of a tragic death. Now, this is a sad story of a man named Jack Everidgeman. Jack Everidgeman, that's his name. His name is Jack, his surname is Everidgeman, so he's called Jack Everidgeman. Now, at the time of his burial, this is the obituary of Jack Everidgeman. Obituary means what they write as the advertisement about your death. What they write on the tombstone of a dead person, obituary. So this is obituary of Jack Everidgeman. 1. Born 1954 into an average family. What kind of family? Average family. Schooling, he attended grade and high school. That means up to Form 5 lah, and managed to graduate without distinction. He was voted most likely to stay average. Not most likely to succeed, but most likely to stay average. And he got married in 1974 to this girl called Mary Mediocre. Mediocre also means biasa. They have 2 children after they got married. One is a son. He named him Jack Everidgeman Jr. and a daughter. He named her Mary Mediocre Everidgeman. These are the 2 children. Employment. Jack worked 42 years of undistinguished service to the Mediocre Products Company. Jack held several unimportant positions, and he managed to churn out mediocre products, which brought him an average livelihood. Achievements. Jack Everidgeman never took a chance. He managed to develop practically none of his talents and abilities. He never became involved with anything or with anyone. His favorite book was named Non-Involvement, the story of playing it safe. Jack lived 65 years. Without goals, without plans, without desires, without confidence, or without determination. 65 years. Burial arrangement. Jack's remains, his body, will rest undisturbed by the visits of friends in the ordinary man's cemetery. So this is the obituary of John Everidgeman. And on his tombstone was written this: "Here lies Mr. Jack Everidgeman, born 1954, died 1975, buried, 2019, I'm sure you see a typo, a typing mistake there. Correct or wrong? No! There is no typo, no typing mistake there. Then why buried 2019 when he died 1975? Why? Now the clue is there. He tried never to try in his life, 65 years. He asked little of life, no ambitions. Life paid its price. Well, life will treat you the way you treat your life. If you never want to try anything, you never ask for anything, that's how life will treat you. So why buried 2019 when he died in 1975? Now you have to remember, he was married in 1974. And 1 year of married life made him so contented that he feels there is no need anymore to struggle, no need anymore to reach higher, because, well, working for the mediocre product company, he is earning a mediocre income every month, and he can raise a mediocre family, and he feels that is his aim in life. So here lies Mr. Jack Everidgeman. And in 1975, 1 year after he got married, he felt so contented that he never wanted to take risks, he never wanted to ask more of life. So that was the year he died mentally, emotionally. Physically, he still lived on. Well, I ask you, would you like this to be the obituary of your life? I want to show you this picture because this is true life in Kuala Lumpur. True life. I want you to meet this auntie. Auntie Wong, 80-year-old. She wakes up every morning 1 o'clock. And for 7 hours, she alone, she has to make pastry, to make the nice cakes you see in the picture. And it takes 7 hours to get everything ready to start her stall. And from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily, she will be sitting there, standing there, selling what she has made for the day. And she's been doing that for the past 40 years. She's been doing that for the past 40 years. She admits it. Life is hard, but she is happy. So what is your excuse? What is your excuse? Today, right now, you have the Ventros Healing Ministry in your hand. Are you not going to do something with it? Are you not going to be the next Rebecca, the next Mr. Saw Kap Bin, the next Johnny Kua? Are you not going to be the next Diamond? What is your excuse? I'm challenging you that take this today, whatever I've shared with you, take this perhaps as an admonition from your God telling you, get up, do something with your life, and stop your excuses. I make no apologies if you feel angry with all what I've said, but I know I said it with love from my heart to build you up. Now, there are famous excuses found in excusology, and I want to present the real reasons behind the excuses, some of which you have been using for a long time now. Now, some people's excuse is, I just don't have the time to do it. I don't have time, don't kacau me. What is the real reason behind it? Lack of focus, lack of discipline, lack of direction in life, lack of priorities. When it comes to time, it always gets tied up with priorities. So the person whose excuse is, I know it's a good thing to join Ventros, but come on, I have no time. The person who is using this excuse must know that the real reason you lack focus, discipline, direction, priorities is that you have the bad habit of procrastination, and laziness is part of your problem. That is the real reason. Procrastinating and lazy. Now, the next excuse is, I don't have enough money, okay? But you forgot, Rebecca, when she came into the Ventros, she too had no money. She and Joseph had to pawn, pajak gadai, pawn, the last piece of jewelry they have to raise 8,000 to start the Ventros Healing Ministry. And in these short 3 years, they have got huge, impressive testimonies of what have become of their life. You know, that day when Rebecca sent me the photo that they just shifted into their new condominium, the second one. She was overjoyed, obviously, but I shed tears. Why? Why am I so sentimental about that? After all, it's just a small condominium. No, I didn't look at it as big or small. I didn't look at it as how expensive or how cheap. I look at it from the point of view of a couple who were prepared to pay the price to earn the success they deserve. I told Rebecca, I said, Rebecca, I rejoice with you. I rejoice to the point I cannot control my tears. If you use this as a reason, it is due to your lack of determination, lack of persistence, lack of patience. And the real reason behind it is you have a strategy or idea problem. You lack idea and strategy. That is your problem. Because when the idea and the strategy burns into you, you will not justify with this kind of excuse. Next, my education level too low, how to do this? The reason is you lack creativity, you lack inspiration. And the real reason behind that is you are unwilling to work hard. There is inferiority, 自卑感, inferiority. That's the real reason. If your excuse is, I'm too old to change anything lah, then you go and talk to Mr. Saw Kat Beng. You know, every time I see Mr. Saw, I salute him. Because why? At his age, people will be sitting down passively, letting life go by. But Mr. Saw is one gentleman that is far, far different from anyone his age. He is still fighting. He is still trying to perfect his skills, his knowledge in this industry. It is no wonder he's a gold diamond. Every time Mr. Saw asked me to pray for him, I knew that, yes, this is one person that I got to uphold in prayer. Because why? I want to see him to be the shining example to the world that age is not the excuse. You see, there are a lot of youngsters today out there. They are jobless, they are unemployed, they are complaining. But Mr. Saw is still fighting. Why? Because this has never been an excuse. Some people say, you know, MLM. I tell you, MLM. Every 10 who joins MLM, 9 will fail one. Maybe only 1 will succeed. MLM. They say ML means what? You know, not multi-level marketing. Makin lekas mampus. MLM. Faster to die. So please, we talk to somebody else. This is a lack of confidence, lack of knowledge, lack of experience. And the real reason behind it is there is fear, unresolved past mistakes still haunting you. That's why you give this excuse. And the last but not least is some people's excuse is, it just won't work, it just won't work. As long as it's MLM, please keep me out of it. It won't work. This excuse is because of lack of self-belief, lack of motivation, lack of creativity, lack of patience. And the real reason from all this is lack of determination to succeed. You would rather live a life of regret. You would rather live a life wallowing in mediocrity. You would rather grow old, never grow up. Because why? There's no determination to succeed. So how to get rid of excusology forever? You want to know or not? 1, avoid making comparisons. Don't compare. If you compare to people who are better than you, you feel envious, you feel bitter. If you compare yourself with people lower than you, you may have a false pride, false ego. Avoid making comparisons. Just set a goal and push yourself. Push yourself. No excuses. Stop dwelling on the past. It doesn't matter whether the past was better, whether the past was bitter. It doesn't matter. It has already gone past you. What is right, what is required of you is to be able to project what you want happen to you in the future. And to be able to project yourself in the future, you got to live now in the best way you can, with the best opportunity that's in your hand. No more excuses. Now, to get rid of excusology, you focus on solutions and opportunities. Don't focus on weaknesses and focusing on your problems, but focus on solutions and opportunities. Focus on your strengths. See the big picture. The big picture of your life has still not been completed. There are still many pieces of puzzle to form the complete picture. And to get the full picture filled up, complete, it may take some more time. It may take more years. It may take more sweat and tears and hard work. But if you stop making excuses, you move in that direction to complete the big picture, you will be so glad you chose this direction for your life. No more excuses. And learn from past failures and mistakes. You know, failures and mistakes never came to drown you, never came to checkmate you, never came to push you down into the drain. Learn from failures and mistakes. You become wiser and you will know what to do in the next steps to take. Ask yourself uncomfortable questions. By that I mean, ask yourself, hey, why am I so lazy? Ask yourself, why am I not willing to pay the price? Why am I just sitting down every day only watching the Korean films? Ask yourself uncomfortable questions. Why am I not setting a goal? Well, Benjamin Franklin, he's one of the former US presidents. He said, he that is good at making excuses, sorry, he is seldom good for anything else. So today, I encourage all of you, if you are still there watching and listening to this short seminar today, take it to heart. Stop making excuses. Stop giving excuses. Be the true self that you are and start making choices. Start making decisions. Start taking risks. Start making yourself comfortable with the uncertainty of a future. Then you will begin to realize that the meaning you create in life is truly meaningful. You mature, you grow up, and then you become a person that your children, your grandchildren to come, they will respect you for the rest of their lives. So I'm going to end my seminar today. I issue to you a challenge. Don't go away yet. I issue to you this challenge. This challenge is for your good, for your good. I call the name of this challenge, No More Excuses Challenge. This is the name of the challenge. No More Excuses Challenge. So what do I require of you in this challenge? Tell me what's up to me now. My number is there. Your target date for achieving Ruby, if you haven't become Ruby. Your target date for achieving Emerald, if you already are Ruby, not yet become Emerald. What's your target date for being a Diamond, if you are already an Emerald, have not become Diamond? What's your target date for achieving Gold Diamond, if you have not already achieved that rank? Now for Mr. Saw, Rebecca, Johnny Kwa, for you, if you like, you will need to tell me when are you going to become our crown diamond, the three of you. So right now, I'm waiting for you. WhatsApp to me now, your target. No more excuses. Give me your target. When are you going to achieve that target, that rank? My handphone is right here now. I'm waiting for you all to respond. Let me see who will be the first one to send the response to me. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Do not send your response through the VOOV app. Send it directly to me. Okay, time's up. I did not receive even one of them. Therefore, I take it that this short seminar did not produce the right results. Okay, I received from Caleb Yeo. I received 3 now. Congratulations to the 3 of you. And I believe you are really committed. Now, for the rest of you, please send me your feedback about today's seminar to KG Lim, latest by 10 o'clock tonight. And those of you who did not respond, even if you send to me, I will reject. I will not consider anymore, because you had an opportunity to express your seriousness, but you did not. So you missed that opportunity. The 4 of you who sent in and I received, yes, I congratulate you. I am going to pray very hard for you all to see that you achieve your goals. So especially for you, emerald, diamonds, gold diamonds, please send your feedback about today's short seminar to me latest by 10 p.m. tonight. No excuses, please do it. The next seminar is entitled Goals, Goals, Goals. And that will be 25th of May via VOOV at 3 p.m. Now, if you really want to benefit from these short seminars that I'm conducting, you must dare to come and accept challenges. If you just want to come, listen, and feel good and go away, forgetting everything, I would rather that you not attend, because it is not going to be of any long-term benefit for you, just to listen and feel good and go away, forgetting everything. If you come and attend this kind of short seminars, your responsibility is you must be ready to accept challenges. My challenges are never challenges that are impossible. They are always within reach if you have the strong desire to be challenged. So contact me if you need prayer for your breakthrough. My number is there. My email address is there. Contact me. So far, in all this series of short seminars, only one time one person has responded, and I'm still praying for that person. I encourage you, this is a free service for you. And if you need power to spur you to break through, spur you to greater success, there is nothing like the power of prayer. Therefore, make full use of this facility. So I take this time now to thank all of you for attending this short seminar. And I hope, God willing, to be seeing you for the next seminar. Thank you very much. To live is to love and to serve. Bye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we finished the motivation talk today. Thank you so much. And once again, thank you so much to Mr. KG Lim. Of course, I would like you all to give him a big hand of applause, but I'm so sorry because it is on the VOOV meetings. But anyway, please, I hope that through this motivation talk, you can really put all things into action after the motivation talk. Okay, and of course, during this pandemic period, please stay safe, stay healthy, as well as stay active as well. And we hope to see all of you in the mountain of success. Okay, thank you so much, and we'll see you again next time in the next VOOV meeting. Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.